with danger and with daring rights. To the hilt we take you there, where courage meets a throat.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're doing a deep dive today into quite a remarkable life story. Johnny Nugent.
Yeah, a sword swallower, but really so much more. His career spanned, the 1920s right through to the mid-70s?
Exactly. Decades of performing. Imagine the changes he saw.
Right. From the Depression, World War II, all the way into the later sideshow era. It's a huge slice of history.
And the information we have, it mostly comes from a couple of key places, right?
That's right. Primarily the book To The Hilt, A Sword Swallower's History of Sword Swallowing. Great title, by the way.
Yeah.
By Dan Meyer and Mark Hartzman. And also some details from the Sword Swallowers Association International, their Hall of Fame website.
Okay. So using those, we're going to piece together this journey, a performer dealing with huge historical shifts and, well, some pretty intense personal challenges, too.
Absolutely. It's a chance for you, listening, to get a concise look at a truly unique life based on what these sources tell us.
So let's jump right in. Where does his story begin?
Well, he was born November 24th, 1914, Petersburg, Virginia.
Okay, Virginia. And the spark, the thing that got him interested in sword swallowing, that happened pretty early on.
It did. Seems like when he was a teenager, a circus actually set up its winter quarters nearby in the local fairgrounds.
Oh, wow. So the circus basically came to his doorstep for the off-season.
Exactly. And that's apparently where he saw a sword swallower perform.
And it wasn't just, oh, that's neat. The sources say he became really determined to learn it himself.
Yeah, determined. Which, I mean, think about it. Sword swallowing, it's not exactly like learning the guitar.
Not at all. And how did he even start? The sources mentioned something pretty unusual.
Yeah. To the hilt notes he apparently started with a fly swatter.
A fly swatter. Seriously.
Seriously. Now, he might have gotten a few tips from the guy in the wintering circus. The sources kind of hint at that possibility, but it sounds like he was largely self-taught.
Wow. From a fly swatter. That's some serious dedication right there.
Yeah.
And this is all happening as the Great Depression is hitting.
Precisely. Terrible time economically. Finding work was tough for anyone.
So this unusual skill he taught himself, it actually became a lifeline.
It really did. The sources suggest sword swallowing was his way to, keep himself fed, have a place to stay, and travel with the shows. It was work. It was survival.
You landed a gig with the Brinson Brothers Circus and Shows.
Yeah.
Worked with them through the late 1930s.
Right. And the source mentions it was an all-wagon show.
What does that detail tell us for people maybe not familiar with that era of circus?
Yeah, the all-wagon show. It really paints a picture. It means everything, tents, gear, people, animals, moved by horse-drawn wagons. No trucks, no trains yet for that specific outfit.
So a very different kind of touring life than we might imagine today. Much slower, more traditional maybe.
Definitely. A self-contained world moving across the landscape. That was his life in the late 30s. But then he decided to branch out a bit.
He did, didn't he? Started his own thing.
Yeah, showing some entrepreneurial spirit there. He created his own traveling reptile show.
Reptiles.
Yeah.
Okay, a bit of a shift from swallowing swords.
Well, maybe not entirely out of character for the sideshow world. It was called Johnny's Claw and Fang Jungleland Zoo.
Claw and Fang. Love it.
He toured that with various circuses and carnivals, built up his own little enterprise until World War II changed everything.
Right. A massive global event intrudes on his life like it did for so many. He was drafted.
Yep, drafted into the U.S. Army. And the sources make a point of saying, he answered the call, he sold his show, the whole Claw and Fang operation, and went off to war.
Sold everything he'd built. Wow. He served as a sergeant, the sources say.
He did. And then tragedy struck. The book details a really severe injury, an explosion.
Yeah, this part is just, it's hard to fathom what exactly happened.
And details are grim. He lost his right eye entirely, and his legs were mangled so badly.
So badly that?
Doctors told him he would never walk again, not a single step.
Oh my God, after everything, losing the business, going to war, serving, to then face that kind of prognosis, you'd think that would be it?
You absolutely would. And for most people, that's insurmountable. But this is where Johnny Nugent's story gets even more remarkable.
He didn't accept it.
He defied it. The sources are clear on this. He somehow, through sheer will, I guess, overcame those odds.
He learned to walk again.
He learned to walk again. And get this, the accounts say he learned to walk without a limp.
No way. After doctors said never again. That's just
Yeah.
an incredible determination.
Isn't it? It speaks volumes about his character, that mental fortitude.
So he survives the war, survives this horrific injury, learns to walk again.
Mhm.
What does he do next? Does he just, try to live a quiet life?
You'd think. But no. He goes right back to what he knew. He started another reptile show after the war.
He started another one after selling the first one. That's unbelievable resilience.
It really is. He clearly loved that world. But even that didn't last forever on the road this time.
Right. By the mid-50s, he tried something different again.
Yeah, he shifted gears. Instead of constantly traveling, he set up a permanent location. Johnny's Jungle Land Zoo, again, but this time stationary, in Colonial Heights, Virginia.
Try to put down some roots, maybe.
Perhaps, but even that permanent zoo, it didn't last too long. The sources say it closed by the mid-1950s as well.
So another pivot was needed.
Exactly. Life keeps throwing curveballs. He ended up taking a part-time civil service job at Fort Lee, Virginia.
Okay, so a bit more stability, maybe? A regular job.
Sort of, but he couldn't quite shake the sawdust, The sources note he still worked part-time with circuses and sideshows during the show season.
Wow. So he balanced both, the day job and the call of the sideshow.
Found a way to make it work. He never really left that world behind entirely.
And it wasn't just the sword swallowing he kept doing, was it? He had other skills, too.
Oh, yeah. He was a man of many talents within that specific sphere. The sources list them. Besides swords, he ate fire.
Fire eating, too. Okay.
Threw knives, performed magic, did trick roping, even trick riding.
A real multi-skilled performer. That versatility must have helped him find work over such a long period.
Definitely. Made him adaptable, valuable to different kinds of shows.
Now, the sources touch on his personal life a little bit. A specific detail about marriage.
Yeah, they mentioned that while he was actively on the road, performing all those years, he never married or had children.
And there's a quote associated with that.
A very telling one. Reportedly, when asked why he never married, he'd say, "I was in one damn war. That was enough."
Wow. That hits hard. Really shows the impact the war must have had on him long after the physical recovery.
It does, but interestingly, there's a little wrinkle.
Oh.
The sources also mention, almost as an aside, that it appears he might have actually been married at some point to a Helena C. Nugent, who lived from 1890 to 1970.
So maybe his famous quote was specific to his time on the road, or maybe there's more to the story we don't know.
Exactly. It adds a layer, a little bit of potential complexity behind the public persona and the quick quote.
Fascinating. In his performing, it definitely continued well past the war and recovery period.
Oh, for sure. There's a specific mention in the White Top Circus report from 1961.
What did it say?
It detailed him filling in as the sword swallower for the Hoxie Brothers Circus that year. So, he's in his late 40s by then, still stepping up, still performing that demanding act.
Still had the skills. But eventually, things did slow down.
Yeah, by the mid-1970s, the sources say he'd semi-retired from the main sideshow circuit, the constant grind.
But not entirely stopped performing.
Not entirely. He'd still do gigs at smaller local events and apparently performed for the K Brothers tent sometimes. The performance bug never fully left him, it seems.
Just incredible persistence. And then his life came to an end in 1980.
That's right. He passed away on May 27, 1980. He was 65.
And where was he buried?
He's buried back in Petersburg, Virginia, in the family plot at St. Joseph's Roman Catholic Cemetery.
Right back where it all started.
Right.
Where he saw that circus as a kid, full circle.
It really is. When you look at the whole arc, drawing from these sources, the self-taught skill, the depression, the war, that unbelievable injury and recovery, running his own shows, adapting, what does it really tell us about resilience?
It shows an extraordinary capacity to just keep going, to adapt to absolutely devastating setbacks and find a way forward, always leveraging that core thing he could do, perform. He didn't just bounce back, he kept reinventing how he engaged with his passion.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for you to chew on. Considering that whole journey, the sheer physical and mental effort of learning sword swallowing, the economic pressure, the trauma of war and injury, and then defying doctors to not just walk but perform again for decades, what does Johnny Nugent's story really illuminate about the power of human will? That drive to overcome, but also to keep pursuing something difficult, even dangerous, that clearly defined so much of his life.
With every breath, dancing close to life and death, stories written legends born in every test. Through history's winding path, crafted with an iron grasp. Voices from a world gone past, echo in the feats they clasp.